Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where we talk about using real estate to build cash flow, to build wealth, so that you can lead a life that's really worth living. We do this as mentors. We do this on the radio show. We do one-on-one mentoring. We do one-on-one consulting. And our focus is on cash flow. Well, yesterday, I'm on Bigger Pockets. If you're not familiar with Bigger Pockets, it's a forum for primarily single-family investing. They have a tendency to talk about fourplexes as if that's multifamily. And of course it's not. It's still considered, 4 units or below is considered single-family. It goes on the single-family contract and so on. So that's about everything that they talk about. There are some apartment owners on there, but very rare. But anyway, so I'm constantly selling cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. That's my big sales pitch. You have to have a second stream of income. When you look at the fact that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65, you look at you want to, of course, study the 5% to see what they're doing. Well, all of them own businesses and real estate. 70% of them own real estate. So if you're going to imitate successful people, which I highly recommend that you do, you're going to get some real estate in your portfolios. It's kind of a no-brainer. Well, I'm on Bigger Pockets, and I see this blog by a guy named Jordan Berry. Now listen to this. You shouldn't buy real estate for cash flow. That's the name of his article, his blog post. You can imagine what that did to my brain. I lost it. I was like, are you kidding me? Then I read on to find out a little bit about the author, which was kind of backwards from what I should have done. I should have read the article first. But I get myself in a tizzy because I'm like, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. Dumb as a rock. And I judged the article before I read it. So I bet you can guess what's going to happen when I finally do read the article. But anyway, I go check it out. I check him out. And Jordan Berry is a real estate agent from California. So the first thing that ran through my mind is, here's a real estate agent that's trying to sell people real estate that doesn't cash flow. So he writes an article to say that cash flow isn't important. Well, that's what I put 2 and 2 together in my head. Well, guess what? That's not what he's saying. It's actually a good article. But it is not saying, the title is extremely deceptive. It's not what he's saying. He does buy real estate for cash flow. But what happened was, he bought what do you call it? A laundromat. And the cash flow from that laundromat was relatively substantial. In other words, it was a good business that he bought. So he picked up more cash flow in one laundromat than he did off of 4 or 5 houses. So his argument is, it's easier in certain businesses to build cash flow than it is with real estate. And that's not really arguable, because if you could go start making clothes, these statistics are not, I guess these numbers I got from an article one time. It was something like 42 cents to make a spaghetti strap shirt for a woman. A little tank top with 2 spaghetti straps. Those cost 42 cents. Walmart sells them for $2.50. The Gap sells them for $23. And Guess sells them for $60. Are you doing the math on that? 42 cents, $60. What is the rate of return on something like that? It's tens of thousands of percent, I think. Yeah. If there are always going to be businesses that are more cash flowing than real estate. Here's the problem. Do they build wealth? And the answer is no. See, the magic of real estate is that it not only produces cash flow, it's building massive wealth for you at the same time. Even at the end of Jordan's article, he says, oh, and by the way, I own the building that the laundromat is in, so I pay myself rent. In other words, it's just a real estate deal where instead of renting to a tenant, he's renting to people who need to wash their clothes. You see how it's almost the exact same thing? And if you look at what I think you should do with your life, which is find what you're passionate about and work at that, I'm all for every one of you owning a business and your real estate. But be very cautious of just owning a business because it doesn't build wealth. You say, well, what if I make a lot of money and I save a lot of it? That's wealth. Yeah, but it's not the same, and it's not going to grow as fast as your real estate will. So when I talk about life financially is a two-pronged attack, the first prong can be either a job or self-employment or a business. And remember the distinction. Self-employment is when you disappear for a year and you make less money. Owning a business means you can disappear for a year and make the same amount of money. So a lot of people think they own a business and they really don't. They're just self-employed. Nothing wrong with being self-employed. Just make sure you make that distinction and know the difference. So job, self-employment, or owning a business. And that should be your passion. And it's very interesting. This Jordan guy sort of has a passion, the way that he talks about it, a passion for laundromats. That's his cool thing. He likes it. So while I posted on social media, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, I should have read all of the article first instead of just the first. I guess I read the first 4 pages before he actually tells you what he's saying. And I didn't like the first 4 pages, but after reading all 8 pages, it's actually a pretty neat idea. And we'll talk more about this when we come back from the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Phone lines are open, by the way. If you've got a question for me, do not hesitate to call, and do not worry about what I'm talking about. I'd rather answer your phone calls about anything to do with building wealth for yourself and your family with real estate. Maybe you're having trouble locating the deals. Maybe you're having trouble working with agents or wholesalers, or you're worried about financing, maybe you got a problem with a tenant. Give me a call, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. 888-848-5738 or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. So we're talking about this article by Jordan Berry, and you can find him again on Bigger Pockets. And how I really I'm not 100% on how he said it, because to me it's very deceptive. You shouldn't buy real estate for cash flow. But then he openly admits that it's the greatest insurance you can ever have, because when the down market comes, you've got your cash flow. Who cares if the prices drop? Which I teach, he teaches. It's great stuff. So it's a little deceptive, but I get his point that sometimes your passion can generate the same or more cash flow than the real estate does. But chances are your passion is not going to build long-term wealth, huge assets, huge amounts of equity, things like that. But I do love the idea that every one of you, let's move ahead 10 years, all right? You decide, you go join a real estate investor group. You say, I'm going to take the classes, I'm going to learn the business, and I'm going to go do it. And over the next 10 years, you generate yourself $10,000, $12,000 a month passive income from your real estate. Your bills are $6,000 a month. That's everything. Fun, all your bills, and a couple grand for fun and romance and so on. Then you've got enough money coming in that you can say, I'm going to quit my job. You now have 40, some of you 50, 60 hours a week back. You bought your life back from corporate America. And now you have a choice. What are you going to do with your time? Because that could be, $12,000 a month could be 30 houses. Is that right? Or 40 houses? 6 to 8 per 20. Yeah, it'd probably be about 30 houses. You could take the time to sell those 30 houses and go buy yourself a bigger apartment complex. Or you could keep the 30 houses, just let them run, and start a business. And that business would be up to you. Something that you're passionate about. I've got a plumber Elmer, who is, he gets excited when he sees what are those things that are called under the sink, the trap. He gets excited when he sees one of those cracked. It's just so exciting to him to take it apart, put it back together. In other words, what I'm saying is, whatever your passion is, it can be anything. Plumbing, AC, baking cookies, anything. But because you built that stream of passive income, you now have the time and the income to do it. And like Jordan Berry says, I think that is a great idea, because you could then build a second. Remember, you quit your job, so you only have one income stream. So I'm against that. But what if you started a business and created a second stream of income, but in your passion? We'll talk more in a moment. Let's go to the phone lines and talk to Todd. Todd, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
Doing well, Steve. How are you doing, sir?
Excellent. It says you're a member?
Yeah, joined February 8th.
Okay. Thank you.
The guy that works at the television station, I gave you my card.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm kind of chomping at the bit. I'm ready to get started. I'm still, I guess, cross-contaminated. I'm still a member of the other real estate company, but I was kind of like at a position where I couldn't do anything because of some other issues.
Sure.
But instead of trying to get a bunch of tasks, if I can get 3 things that I can be working on right now, I wanted to do a cash-out refi on one of my homes, but my DTI is too high. So I need to come up with some other kind of method of getting some funds together so that I can go out and get some properties.
Okay. Well, do me a favor then. Email me. I'll know who you are because I remember your name now. Email me and let me send you a couple of tasks and even a workbook that you can start on that will actually prep you for the 2-day class, the day-and-a-half class or whatever.
Oh, wow. I appreciate that. I'm excited to get started because we're going on 9 months and I haven't been able to do anything.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And start listening to Big Pockets. And I've been trying to get caught up on your podcast. So I'm just kind of, like I said, chomping at the bit. I'll go ahead and get that email sent to you.
I like your attitude. Keep it up. Don't ever let anybody discourage you from being excited, because I was talking about this with someone last night, how their energy levels were really low. He had just finished a normal day's work and he was pooped. And I said, why are you pooped? You didn't do anything but go to work today.
Yeah.
And as I discussed it with him, he was, he openly admits he's 40 or 50 pounds overweight. He smokes. And it's like, well, of course you're tired. When I hear people like you with your high energy levels, I can pick people out of a room who are going to succeed. Keep yourself in shape. Don't smoke. Keep that attitude, and you're going to rock, Todd.
Okay. I'm excited about it. I'm ready to get started.
All right. Thanks a lot for the phone call.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, what I'll do is, with Todd, I'm going to send him a copy of our goal-setting workshop. And it's actually a workbook. I mean, there's a lot to do in that. And then I've got a couple other ideas for him personally. So really anybody that's a member, we'll be sending this out fairly soon to everybody. So please don't email me. I'm going to let Todd do it since he called in. But those of you who are members, we'll be emailing that out prior to the 2-day class so you can start filling it in. We will do it live in the 2-day class as part of the workshop, but I like for people to familiarize themselves with it and be thinking about it before they come in. So phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738, or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. So back to this two-pronged attack, but you can see we're talking about moving from job to passive income. But when you do that, you've suddenly only got one stream of income again. And as I say, it's supposed to be a two-pronged attack for safety reasons and just to have that extra money to be able to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, where you want, and so on. So I think it's a very good idea to look at other businesses, because if you're like me, I don't like real estate. It doesn't get me jazzed. It doesn't get me excited, except when I look at the numbers. But greed and money are not really heavy characteristics that influence me. I'm more of a time-sensitive guy. I want free time to romance my wife, to play with the kids or grandkids, and so on. So for me, teaching is my outlet. Teaching is my business, if you will. Mentoring, consulting, man, I get excited about that because I've got so much past experience, positive past experience from doing it for 30 years. Well, you probably have some passion as well that you've done for years and years and years. You may not have liked it or thought, how do I put this? When you first started it, you loved it. But over time, it became just a job. And you stopped loving it because it was just to get a paycheck. and your paycheck ran out before the next paycheck came. So it became negative. When you started, it was joyful and fun and exciting. Now it's just a job. Let me tell you what happens when you quit your job. The joy comes back, and you're back to when you originally started. The joy, the fun, everything that you loved about it comes back, and then you could start your own business in that. Okay, we'll talk more after the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Saturdays at 10 a.m. right here on AM 950 KPRC. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We are going to head to the phone lines and go out to California now and talk to Yang. Yang, did I say your name correctly?
Yes. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Excellent. How about you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for asking. I want to ask you, like you say, no money and bad credit. So you started 27 years ago, 27 when you was 27. So
yeah.
How you start those kind of days if you have a situation like that, sir?
Yeah, what I did was, the first thing, Yang, you have to understand, I had a massive burning desire, because this is harder than normal real estate investing. It's not that it's difficult, it's just harder than normal real estate investing. And it was a thing called wholesaling. What I did was, I cultivated a group of about 20 real estate agents at the time. I now use about 24. And they would bring me deals that would not qualify for normal conventional loans. These were disaster properties that I could buy for 50, 60 cents on the dollar, and I would get those properties under contract. And because I was a member of a real estate investor group, I also had a list of about 40 members that wanted to buy deals like that. So I would get it under contract and sell it to one of the investors for a finder's fee, anywhere from $3,000 all the way to as high as $40,000, depending on the deal. And that was how I got my foot in the door. Then, as soon as I had a little bit of a cash reserve, and I'm not even sure how much it was, but I started flipping at that point, where I took a hard money loan, or the equivalent back then, and started flipping houses to generate capital. And then after about the third year, really before the end of the third year, I started buying rental properties. So wholesaling is a great way to get started. And there's an excellent book by Than Merrill called The Bible of Wholesaling.
Yes.
And that, if you read that book and then join a real estate investor group, local real estate investor group, where you can generate a group of 30 or 40 investors to buy your deals, it's very effective, because you don't use your credit and you really don't need any money to do it.
Okay. So you want to flip the property at the high market area or low market area? What do you recommend, sir?
I recommend, when I'm wholesaling, I recommend that you listen to your list of investors. And I had two distinct groups. I had the ones who wanted rent properties, and I had the group, maybe 10 or 12 of them, that wanted to flip properties. And the flippers, now this is going to be different in California, but in Texas, the flippers were flipping houses that were between $350 and $500. The rental back then was down in the $100 to say $150,000 home. Today, it's $150 to $220. That's the home price range that we're looking at for rentals. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's better to do a like middle market, like a middle market area to flip the houses better.
Yes, because
Okay.
what you're looking to do, have you ever heard Sam, you know who Sam Walton is of Walmart?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made this comment. If you market to the classes, you'll probably eat with the masses. But if you market to the masses, you'll eat with the classes. So that's why he markets to Middle America, and I recommend it too because it's the biggest market, Yang. You're going to find more buyers in that market than anywhere else.
Oh, okay. Thanks for all the answer.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Yang. Take care.
Okay, yeah. You have a nice day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, let's go up to Conroe now and talk to Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for calling in. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Excellent.
I'm looking to like get into the real estate. It's kind of been a passion of mine for years. I just haven't had the capital to do it.
Okay.
I'm looking to buy a foreclosure either for a rental or to flip. I have a day job, so I'm pretty limited on time. I've gone through and kind of looked through like county foreclosure auctions. Looked at, I think auction.com has some banks that auction off. Recently, I've noticed a site called, I think it's like Husboo, where it looks to me, I've done a lot of research in the reviews, that the banks use it to sell their foreclosure properties. Do you have any experience with that? Have you used that? I think they've sold millions and millions of homes through this website.
Yeah, they do use it. They do use it, Daniel. Not every bank uses it, I don't believe. But there are, in other words, there's many sources for foreclosures, and the good thing is you're wise enough not to use just one. You have to use multiple resources, and you analyze the deals. Foreclosures can work, but I've also seen foreclosures that were not good deals, so don't assume just because it's foreclosed on it's a good deal. You make sure you run your cash flow analysis or your flip analysis, make sure it's a good deal. But yeah, buying foreclosures can be a great idea.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know if you had, any experience with specifically the Husboo site.
Well, do me a favor. It's not sounding like I do. Spell it for me.
What is it? It's like Huzz. Here, let me confirm it with you.
Hubzu. Hubzu. Hubzu.
Yes,
Hubzu, online real estate auctions. Okay, I am not familiar with this, but I am familiar with the concept. In other words, I was approached by a company that wanted me to partner with them to do a website like this, and it's one of those things that I know very little about, so I don't invest in stuff I don't understand. But it seemed like a really good idea. So, yeah, I would, you can give it a shot. Just protect yourself and make sure that you're not putting up earnest money that you'll never get back. You're not taking big risks. You just watch yourself. It won't even come up on my computer, so I'm not sure what's going on.
I've seen them list a lot of houses in the Houston area lately on HAR, and they kind of so yeah, it's pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I would check it out and give it a shot. But I definitely make sure you're not putting up hard earnest money to do it.
Right.
It's like with wholesalers that beat you to death and try to get you to give them a non-refundable deposit before you even see the property. You make sure you've got some control and you have an opportunity to look at the property and run the numbers.
Yeah, during the auction period, I guess they give you that time to go and look at the property unless it's occupied. So that's
Gotcha.
actually where I'm going right now.
Excellent.
So, cool. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You take care.
All right.
Yeah, the online sites can be good or bad, just like I said. So you cover your rear end. If you're going to deal with them and they start asking for hard earnest money, that's a risk. Unless you they're guaranteeing the numbers, which I don't think they can do. I'd just be very leery of any hard earnest money. And the more I think, I wish the page would load so I could see how it works. But I'll check that out after the show, and we may talk about it on tomorrow's show. But foreclosures are a great way to do it. Real estate owned by banks, REOs, are a great source. Remember, banks are not in the real estate business. They're in the loan business. So when they do get real estate back through foreclosure, it's in their best interest to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So, and I'm not sure what the laws are now, but I think they have to list them with an agent almost within like 72 hours or some ridiculous number to make sure it's on the fair market. But yeah, they can be good deals. I do prefer pre-foreclosures, meaning they have not been foreclosed on yet, where you can go sit down with the family that owns it, save their credit, give them some moving money, and still get a good deal for yourself. That I definitely prefer that to what I'll call post-foreclosure. It's already an REO. The pre-foreclosures, man, some of the deals I did were just amazing. Now, these people had obviously let their property go. In many cases, they had destroyed it themselves because they were drug addicts or drug dealers or whatever. That reminds me. We got to go to break in just a minute. Yesterday, I hammered the daylights out of Section 8 housing, but I forgot about another aspect of Section 8 housing that I do like. So when we come back from the break, I'll kind of retract how harsh I was yesterday and share with you, not only do I like Section 8 for single moms, single dads, there's one other group. And we'll talk about that after the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. You can call me at 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Remember, you can always find us online, obviously, at GetRealWealth.com. If you're interested in hiring a mentor or a consultant to help you learn this business, please check out our free workshop. That's at GetRealWealth.com. It's in the upper right-hand corner. The next one is actually tomorrow evening, and I'm teaching it. My son will start teaching it here in the next few weeks. So if you want to meet me, see what we're doing, understand how the mentoring works, this is about an hour and a half workshop. It starts at 6:30. We're done and out of there by 8:30. So it's less than 2 hours. Go to GetRealWealth.com, upper right-hand corner, pick the free workshop. Okay, I've got a email question here from a Rob. Do real estate agents get commissions for referring wholesaler a deal? Yeah, they do. They get all 6% of the commission in most cases because they're the listing agent and the selling agent. Why wouldn't a real estate agent cut out the middleman, wholesaler, and just forward property directly to investors? Many of them do, Rob, but not all agents. There's remember this, Rob, there's 129,000 real estate agents in Greater Houston. Not all of them have lists of investors. In fact, probably very few of them do. What you're looking for, what these agents do, when you cultivate a group of 24, and I'll recommend 24 agents, you're telling them bring me the deals that won't qualify for a regular mortgage, a conventional mortgage, Fannie Mae, VA, or whatever. These guys and gals don't know how to do the deal. They've been passing them up, Rob, because they didn't have anybody to do the deal. They didn't have a list of investors. Well, suddenly you call them, Rob, and go, look, I am an investor. I can do cash deals. I can do hard money loans and buy those houses that need a lot of work. Guess who they do call? So the last question, why wouldn't the real estate agents cut out the middleman, the wholesaler, and just go for, you're the investor. You're the person they're going to call. And they get paid by the seller all 6% of the commission because they found the deal and they found you, the buyer, so they're the listing and selling agent on the deal. All 6% goes to them. And make sure they get paid too, Rob. Do not do what they show you on late night TV, which is wait till right before closing and pretend like you don't have enough for the down payment or something like that and ask them to give up their commission. That's a bunch of bull. You take care of your realtors, make sure they get all 6% of the commission, and guess who they're going to call first next time, Rob? You. Okay, phone lines are open for just one final segment. It's 281-558-5738, 281-558-5738. Okay, the Section 8 housing, I'm backing off. There's another group, and it is military. People who come back from overseas and they need a place to live, to get stabilized, to get a job. Absolutely. That is, I would love, that just never happened to me. I guess that's why I didn't reference it yesterday. But one of my partners brought it up that she knew of people that had come back from Iraq, come back from Afghanistan. They had some issues from combat, and they needed to get on their feet, and Section 8 housing was a great way to do that. So I am super pro for that, and super pro for the single mom that's going to college or the single dad that's going to college. But I stand by what I said yesterday. If you've got a grandmother on it, a mother on it, and a kid on it, that is terrible. They're destroying that family's life by giving them free rent. They are destroying their life. It's to me, it's horrible. Okay, phone lines are open. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to a couple of other questions. One of these is kind of interesting. It's about, oh no, this isn't actually a simple question. I'll try to find that one before we finish the show. But it's from Craig. He says, my attorney recently advised that I get a separate and specific liability policy for my rentals. I'm going to assume that's an umbrella policy. I had a personal liability policy, but he wanted a specific one naming my rentals and the addresses. I just got a quote back from an independent insurance agent, and it was vastly more than expected. Same annual premium as my home insurance on my rental. I was under the impression that liability policies were significantly cheaper than general insurance, as my personal policy is. Does anyone here use or advise? Again, this is a bigger pockets comment. Yeah, my response was, he's referring to an umbrella policy, and the quote that you got probably covers all of your houses. So when you say, it cost me $1,200 to insure this house, and doggone it, they want $1,200 for an umbrella policy, that's not per house. That is over all your houses. Now, it will go up as you add houses, but my liability policy has been the same, and I've got those 20 plus houses in it. So, yeah, it doesn't even make sense to worry about it. In other words, divide it by the number of houses you've got. That's what the real cost is. It's really covering multiple houses, so it's really not expensive. The way that I do it is I keep $300,000 minimum on each house. I prefer $500,000. And then I have $1 million liability umbrella policy over all the houses. That way, if I do something stupid and get somebody hurt, they sue, the insurance takes care of everything. And I've been through that. I'm telling you, it's like this. Somebody sues you, you turn it over to your insurance company, they call you once or twice, they settle with them, and call you and tell you it's settled. It's really stressful. It's nothing. It's crazy. And yes, it was my fault. I think he tripped on a cracked concrete, something like that, bashed his knee, and he was suing for something ludicrous like $50,000, and they got away with just paying his medical bills is what I believe ended up happening. We had one instance in an apartment complex where a guy broke into the property, went for a swim, and drowned. They sued for like $2 million. The insurance company settled for $50,000, and they went their happy way. I never was in court. I never got a phone call. It's not. Remember, the 3 layers of protection, liability-wise, are your liability insurance and, wait a minute, the 3, it's liability insurance, but the most important one is you want to run your property correctly. It's preventive. We've heard this phrase since we were kids. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. This is very true in this case. If you want to never be sued, don't do anything lazy. Don't do anything stupid. I have to admit I was stupid not to repair that sidewalk. It was on my agenda. I should have done it immediately. I put it off. Somebody got hurt. Boom, lawsuit. But that was my fault. So you got to keep that in mind. Number 1 layer of protection is your management style. Keep that property perfect, and you'll have no problems. Then your second layer is your insurance, and the third layer is the corporation, and that would be on multifamily. I don't use corporations or LLCs on single family. All right, tenant application with bad credit. This is from Tammy. I have a unit that has several applicants, but all have shown red flags. The last application has everything going for it, except, the credit score is 430. She recently went through a bad divorce, and I guess no one paid for the mortgage or auto loan. That's her excuse. I see that she was on time with all her payments until last year about the same time. I can tell you this, Tammy, I'm going to email you back on this one, but I would lease to her if you have evidence that all her problems started at one time. That was probably the divorce. All right, this has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Thanks for listening. You can email me at AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com.
The GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.